Welcome to our youth-oriented podcast today. We will be talking about a topic that has affected millions of people around the world, the impact of COVID-19 on sports and fitness. I'm your host Joanna, and I'm excited to be joined by a special guest, who is an expert in the field of sports and fitness. Amelie, could you please introduce yourself to our listeners, and tell us a bit about your background in sports and fitness?
Sure. Thank you for having me. My name is Amelie, and I've been involved in the sports and fitness industry for 10 years. I am a professional fitness instructor and I'm passionate about helping people stay healthy and active.
That's great to hear. As we all know, COVID-19 has had a huge impact on the world of sports and fitness. Events have been canceled, gyms have closed down, and athletes have had to find new ways to train and compete. Amelie, can you tell us more about how the pandemic has affected the sports and fitness industry?
Absolutely. The pandemic has presented many challenges for athletes and fitness enthusiasts alike. With events being canceled or postponed, athletes have had to adapt to new training schedules and find creative ways to stay motivated. Gyms and fitness studios have had to close down or limit their capacity, which has forced people to find new ways to stay active at home. It's been a tough time for everyone, but it has also presented some opportunities for innovation in the industry.
That's interesting. It's true that we've seen a lot of new trends and technologies emerge in sports and fitness during the pandemic, such as virtual workouts and esports. It's been fascinating to see how the industry has adapted to the new normal. Amelie, can you tell us more about these new trends?
Of course. The pandemic has spurred a lot of innovation in the industry. With people stuck at home, virtual workouts have become increasingly popular. Fitness apps and online classes have seen a surge in demand, and many gyms and studios have started offering virtual training sessions. Esports have also grown in popularity as a way to compete and stay connected with other athletes. It's been great to see how the industry has adapted to these new challenges. As we previously said, I've been involved in the sports since a kid. I have trained multiple sports and graduated in sport science in Sofia, so I'm truly passionate about helping people stay healthy and active. We have all lived challenging times in the last years, but I hope it was a moment of understanding why sport and physical activity are so important in our daily life.
It's clear that the pandemic has presented both challenges and opportunities for the industry. Do you think the changes we've seen are temporary, or do you think they will have a lasting impact on the industry?
That's a great question. I think some of the changes we've seen will be temporary, and others will have a more lasting impact. For example, I think virtual workouts and online classes will continue to be popular even after the pandemic is over. People have realized that they can get a great workout at home, and it's convenient and cost-effective. On the other hand, I think in-person events and competitions will make a comeback once it's safe to gather in large groups again.
That makes sense. It's definitely been a time of change and adaptation for the industry. Thank you for sharing your insights with us, Amelie. I was also wondering about how COVID-19 has disrupted sports events and training for athletes. Amelie, as an expert in the industry, could you give us some insights on this topic?
Absolutely. The pandemic has had a huge impact on sports events and training for athletes. Many events have been canceled or postponed, leaving athletes without the opportunity to compete and showcase their skills. This has been especially tough for professional athletes, who rely on events and sponsorships for their livelihood.
That's true. It's been a tough year for athletes all around the world. How have they adapted to the changes?
Well, athletes have had to find new ways to train and compete. With gyms and training facilities closed, many have had to create home workouts and find alternative training methods. They've had to be creative and adapt quickly to these new challenges.
It's impressive how athletes have been able to pivot during these difficult times. How have sports organizations adapted to the pandemic?
Many sports organizations have had to get creative as well. Some have created virtual competitions or events, while others have implemented new safety protocols to allow for in-person events. It's been a learning experience for everyone, and we're still figuring out the best ways to navigate these challenges.
It's great to see organizations adapting and finding ways to keep athletes engaged. Do you think there will be any long-term changes to sports events and training as a result of the pandemic?
That's a great question. I think some changes will be temporary, such as the cancellation or postponement of events. However, I think the pandemic has also highlighted the importance of athlete safety and the need for more flexibility in scheduling. I also think virtual competitions and events will continue to be popular, even after the pandemic is over.
Those are some great points. It's clear that the pandemic has had a huge impact on the sports industry, but athletes and organizations have been able to adapt and find new ways to keep moving forward. Let's discuss as well the mental health impact on athletes and fitness enthusiasts due to the pandemic. Amelie, could you speak to us about the mental health challenges that athletes and fitness enthusiasts have faced during this time?
Absolutely. The pandemic has taken a toll on everyone's mental health, but for athletes and fitness enthusiasts, it's been particularly challenging. With events canceled and training facilities closed, many have lost their sense of purpose and routine. This can lead to feelings of isolation, anxiety, and depression.
That's really tough. Have there been any specific ways that athletes and fitness enthusiasts have been affected?
Yes, some athletes have experienced a loss of motivation or have struggled with their mental health, due to the lack of social interaction and routine that comes with their sport. For fitness enthusiasts, the closure of gyms and studios has meant they've had to find new ways to stay active, which can be difficult and stressful.
It's clear that the pandemic has had a significant impact on mental health. What are some ways that athletes and fitness enthusiasts can take care of their mental health during this time?
It's important for athletes and fitness enthusiasts to prioritize their mental health during this time. They can do this by staying connected with their teammates or workout partners, setting small goals for themselves, practicing mindfulness and meditation, and seeking support from mental health professionals if needed.
Those are great tips. It's important to take care of our mental health, especially during these challenging times. Thank you for sharing your insights with us, Amelie. We'll discuss ways that young people can stay active and healthy during the pandemic, so stay tuned. It might be interesting for our audience to hear some insights as well regarding the emergence of new trends and technologies in sports and fitness during the pandemic, such as virtual workouts and esports. Amelie, could you speak to us about these trends and how they've impacted the industry?
Absolutely. The pandemic has forced the sports and fitness industry to get creative, and we've seen the emergence of some new trends and technologies. Virtual workouts, for example, have become very popular as people have had to find new ways to stay active from home. Esports have also gained popularity as a way to keep competitive sports alive in a virtual environment.
It's interesting to see how technology has played a role in keeping people engaged in sports and fitness during the pandemic. Could you give us some examples of virtual workouts?
Sure. Virtual workouts can take many forms, from live-streamed fitness classes to on-demand workout videos. Some gyms and studios have even created virtual reality workouts that simulate a real-life gym experience. These types of workouts can be done from the comfort of your own home, which is great for people who are hesitant to go to a gym or work out in public.
That's really cool. And what about esports? Can you explain what they are and how they've gained popularity during the pandemic?
Esports are essentially competitive video gaming, and they've gained a lot of popularity in recent years. With the pandemic limiting in-person sports events, esports have become a way to keep competitive sports alive in a virtual environment. Professional esports tournaments have even been held online, attracting large audiences and sponsorships.
It's amazing to see how technology has played a role in keeping people engaged in sports and fitness during these challenging times. Do you think these trends will continue even after the pandemic is over?
I think so. The pandemic has accelerated the adoption of technology in the sports and fitness industry, and I think virtual workouts and esports will continue to be popular even after the pandemic is over. These trends offer convenience and accessibility, which is appealing to many people.
That's a great point. It will be interesting to see how the industry continues to evolve as we move forward. We'd love to get as well your thoughts on the future of sports and fitness, Amelie. What do you think the future holds?
I think the future of sports and fitness will continue to be shaped by the pandemic and the lessons we've learned from it. I believe virtual workouts and esports will become even more popular, and we'll see a greater emphasis on individualized and at-home fitness options.
That's an interesting point. What about the future of team sports and group fitness classes?
I think team sports and group fitness classes will continue to be important, but we'll see changes in how they're organized and conducted. There may be more emphasis on outdoor activities, or on smaller groups that can maintain social distancing. We may also see more hybrid options, where some participants join in person and others join virtually.
Those are all great points. And do you think the pandemic will have a lasting impact on the sports and fitness industry?
I think the pandemic has already had a lasting impact on the industry, and we'll continue to see the effects in the years to come. It's forced us to rethink the way we approach fitness and sports, and has spurred innovation and creativity. I believe we'll continue to see new trends and technologies emerge, and a greater focus on holistic health and wellness.
Let's find out as well some practical tips for young people to stay active and healthy during the pandemic, and how to adjust to the new normal of sports and fitness in a post-COVID world. Amelie, could you share some tips with us?
Absolutely. First and foremost, it's important to find an activity that you enjoy and can do safely while being socially distanced. This could be anything from running, cycling, or hiking, to at-home workouts or virtual fitness classes. The key is to find something that you look forward to and that you can do consistently.
That's a great point. What about for those who are missing team sports or group fitness classes?
For those missing team sports or group fitness classes, there are still ways to stay connected and engaged. Many gyms and studios offer virtual classes that you can do with friends or family, and there are even virtual running and cycling groups that you can join. It's also important to remember that social distancing doesn't mean social isolation, so try to stay connected with your teammates or workout buddies through virtual meetups or check-ins.
That's a great suggestion. And what about adjusting to the new normal of sports and fitness in a post-COVID world?
It's important to remember that the post-COVID world will likely look different from what we're used to, at least for a while. It's important to be flexible and open to new ways of doing things. This could mean embracing virtual workouts or trying a new sport or activity that you haven't done before. It's also important to stay informed about any guidelines or restrictions in your area, and to follow them to keep yourself and others safe.
That's all great advices. And finally, do you have any tips for staying motivated and accountable during these challenging times?
Absolutely. It can be hard to stay motivated when you're not able to participate in your usual sports or fitness activities, but setting goals and tracking your progress can help. Whether it's running a certain distance or doing a certain number of push-ups, having a goal to work towards can help you stay motivated. It's also helpful to find an accountability partner, someone who can check in on your progress and offer encouragement and support.
Those are all great tips. As we near the end of our podcast, we'd like to ask you, Amelie, what do you think will be the long-term impact of COVID-19 on the sports and fitness industry?
I think the long-term impact will be significant. We're already seeing changes in fan behavior, with more people choosing to watch games from home rather than attending in-person events. This could have an impact on the revenue generated by sports teams and leagues. We're also seeing a greater emphasis on athlete safety, with more protocols in place to prevent the spread of illness.
Those are all great points. Do you think these changes will be permanent?
I think some of them will be. For example, I think virtual workouts and esports will continue to be popular, even after the pandemic is over. And I think we'll see a greater emphasis on hygiene and safety measures, both for athletes and for fans. However, I also think that as things return to normal, we'll see a return to in-person events and the social connections that come with them.
That's a good point. What other changes do you think we might see in the industry?
I think we'll see more focus on community-based fitness options, such as outdoor workout classes and group fitness events. And I think there will be a greater emphasis on mental health and wellness in sports, with more resources and support available to athletes.
Those are all great insights, Amelie. Thank you for sharing them with us.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
And thank you to our listeners for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed this episode and gained some valuable insights into the impact of COVID-19 on sports and fitness. Before we go, we'd like to tell you about Cheer, an Erasmus Plus co-funded initiative aimed at providing equal opportunities for young people who are struggling with mental health problems, exacerbated by both civilization changes and the COVID-19 crisis. The main goal of Cheer is to improve the well-being of young people, addressing their mental, physical, and social condition. And we're proud to be a part of this initiative by bringing you this podcast. We would like to remind our listeners that the European Commission supports the production of this podcast, but their support does not constitute an endorsement of the contents. The views expressed in this podcast are those of the authors only, and the Commission cannot be held responsible for any use that may be made of the information contained herein. If you or someone you know is struggling with mental health problems, we encourage you to seek help and support. You're not alone, and there are resources available to assist you. Thank you for listening to this episode and for your support of the Cheer initiative.